Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. I see parents and kids. Oh, I think I see a dog in one of the screens. Hello. Friends, family, nice to see everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Simon. I'm the director at Camp Northland. Super excited to have everybody here. Oh, I see we have lots of our staff who have joined us, which is super exciting. Maybe some of our staff who are here, if you don't mind, just next to your name, you could put staff or position or whatever, however you can identify yourself, because people might have questions for some of you, so that could be fun. So here, I will do the same. So if people forget who I am, you'll be able to quickly check. So I'm just going to change my name here. All right, there we go. Okay, so there are always a couple of people who show up in the first few minutes, so we don't want to get too deep into content as some people come maybe a couple minutes late, but we want to respect everybody's time and get going on some stuff we can start with quickly. So first of all, how about that song? That song was actually written by campers and staff and alumni. We actually brought in a songwriting troupe that took input through social media competitions and in-camp programs and staff events and took all the words and they wrote a song about Northland based on everybody's input. And then one of our campers, now staff, Joey Center, actually sang that song for you right now. So pretty awesome. Always great to hear Joey. You can find her on Spotify. All right, so a couple of quick intros. And we may do some more intros as we go. So we're not going to introduce everybody right up front here, but just a couple of intros of our full-time staff for sure. Put some faces to some names because there's been a lot of emailing going on. And I don't need to introduce everyone. You can bounce it around to someone else. I will say hello to Adam, who can take it from here.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Great to see everyone. It's always this event's always an exciting one because it really kicks off the spring season as we gear up to camp, which is not just a few months away. So, which is super exciting, of course. I am the associate director. I know I've spoken with many of you. I know many of you from different walks of life as well. So it's great to see you joining our Northland family. And just a quick hello to all our staff as well joining us tonight. Awesome to see you guys, and thanks for coming. And I will pass it on to Denise, who's to my right or left, depending how you're looking at me. But go ahead, Denise.
And I actually unmuted without you having to tell me, Adam. So a lot of you might know me. We may have emailed already. I'm Denise Harris, the administrative director and longtime Camp NBB person. I went to camp, worked at camp, still working for the camp, and have the pleasure of working with Adam, Simon, Marissa on a daily basis throughout the year. And I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Like Adam said, it's a very exciting time for us. We love to welcome new parents and campers to our family. And because we're meeting tonight, it means we're getting closer to going up to Haliburton. So welcome. And I'll pass it on to Marissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa Reby. I am the development manager, which means I oversee all things fundraising. And I am also a parent of 2 campers going for their second summer. So nice to see all of you. I will pass it over to Daniela.
Hi, everybody. I'm Daniela. You'll be hearing from me a little bit later on tonight. I am the Director of Wellness for campers and staff at camp. I'm a social worker by trade and have been up at the camp for, I think this is going to be 8 years. And I have 3 boys who are campers as well.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to jump in, and Daniela's going to introduce the rest of the camper and staff wellness team a little bit later. And some other staff as things may come up. So if you have questions as we go, because we have a lot of content to deliver, we know it's exciting to be a first-time camp family parent or camper. And we want to make sure we give you a lot of helpful content, but we also want to make sure we answer any questions that you have. So if you have questions and can just throw them in the chat, that would be great. And then we will do our best to monitor the chat and get to questions either in real time or at the appropriate time in our plan for the evening. So we do have a lot of content to be helpful for you. This is a program, designed for you, for your benefit, to make sure that you are starting to frame camp in a way that you understand it and feel excited. Now, we know that the first time going to camp can be a whole mix of emotions. So it can be excitement, nervous, scared, thrilled, anxious, all of those things and 100 other emotions all at the same time. And our goal is to give you information to keep pushing you towards excited, 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 even though all of those other emotions will be part of your experience also, for sure. And that's totally normal and okay. All right. So, we wanted to make sure everyone knows, first of all, that this is a specific session tonight designed for first-time camp families. So that doesn't mean that parents with children who have gone to camp before aren't welcome. Of course you're welcome. But the format and the content tonight is really operating on an assumption that the participants really know very little to nothing about Camp Northland's ins and outs and planning and specifics. So that's what tonight is all about. It's not a general info session, which we do have periodically, but not tonight. All right, so I think we're going to jump right into our some of our slides. I'll give you a second just to process this slide. The reason we threw this up here is because, as many emotions as there are for our campers, hi all the campers out there, we know there's a lot of emotion for the parents too. And we want to make sure that we answer questions that the children have, but also the questions that the parents have. And kids are incredibly resilient. And we know, because we see it year over year, that the children are going to get on that bus, and it's going to be the start of a journey of positivity and happiness, and an incredible life-changing experience. When that happens, of course, the parents, you're not there to see it. So we know that creates a lot of emotion for you, both saying goodbye and also while they're away. So we want to address that too, but we want to start with the message that your kids are going to be just fine. All right, so this is the basic agenda. So you know what's happening. So some hellos, a little bit of a welcome, which we've already begun. And then we're going to start moving into some introduction into our very senior staff, really part of our directing team, but people who are seasonal directors. So people who don't work with us year round, but who come in, to basically create the magic of camp right beside us, with us, as part of the team. So we'll introduce some of that group of senior staff shortly, who will take us through a typical day, back to our wellness team for some tips and tricks and resources and tools. We'll look at some of the technology that you need to understand, and some of the expectations around the technology. So some of the things that you're going to have to do to be prepared, forms, paperwork, that kind of stuff, and making sure you understand how to do that without getting too overwhelmed with all of it. And then we'll go through some of the upcoming events and make sure you have the contact information that you need. And then, of course, some time for questions and answers. So I think what I will do now is actually introduce Lauren Pitaznik. Lauren, known at camp as Pitas, but Lauren is part of our most senior team. I've been super fortunate that in my entire tenure as the director of camp, Lauren has really been there helping create what Camp Northland is today. And she's really a big part of the culture and experience and success of the camp right now. We're just so thrilled that Pitaz is going to be back again. And I'll let Pitaz talk a little bit about her role and then segue into a day in the life of camp, if that's okay.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Lauren, aka Pitaz. That's what most people at camp call me. This will be my 21st summer at camp. So yes, I've been going since I was a camper, so I know camp very well. And this year I am assistant director of the Experience Kids. So this is my first time doing this role in particular, but previously I was head counselor for just the girls, then I was head counselor for everybody. So I'm very well versed in dealing with kids of all ages. So I'm very excited to be back. My last summer was 2018, so took a little break, but very excited. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you about a day in the life of camp. So some things you'll see in the day in the life of camp is there's wake up. Sometimes staff like to do something fun in the morning to wake the kids up, whether it be put on some music or do a cheer or something like that. The cabin usually likes to decide that on their own. And then we have something called roundup. Roundup is when the unit or section heads, which unit is what we call the girls' units, and sections are what we call the boys' units. So it's just a differentiation between, so we know who we're talking about. So unit and section heads come to the unit and sections, they meet them, and there's usually a schedule for the day so they know what their activities are. If there's a birthday, they can sing happy birthday to the person. And it's just kind of like what's happening in the day. And then after that, they go down to breakfast. After breakfast, there's cleanup. After cleanup, there's activities or hobbies, which they find out what they're doing at Roundup. Then there's lunch. There is sometimes time to go back to your cabin. Let's say you went swimming and you're wet and you need to change out of your wet bathing suit. There is time for that. It's important that kids know that you need to make sure you're wearing all the right clothing for what you have in the morning so that they're not running back and forth to the cabins. Camp is really big, so there isn't always time to go back and change, because you could be at an activity that's at one end of camp, and then you have to get all the way to the other end of camp in a certain amount of time. And also keep in mind with COVID that there might be some hand washing or sanitizing going in between the activities. So depending on what's happening with that, it doesn't say it on this particular picture, but that is accounted for so that there is time to do all those things. And then after lunch, there's rest hour. Each unit and section gets some time to get their tuck if it's a tuck day, get some time to rest, hang out in the cabin, hang out in the unit or section with their friends, read a book, just some chill time. Then again, there's some more activities. After an afternoon of activities, there's shower time. After showers, there's dinner. And then after dinner, there's something called evening program. Evening program is a program that's planned by usually the counselor, sometimes the unit or section head, sometimes special programs camp-wide, just depends on the day, where there's something special where they could play a game or they do some sort of outdoor activity. And then there's a little bit of wind down time, and then the kids get ready to go to bed, brush their teeth, story time if that's what they do in their cabin, flashlight time, read books, talk to their friends, and yeah, wind down time, and then hopefully bedtime at a decent hour. So that's normally what a day in the life looks like. And yeah, you can see some pictures at the lake, at the cabin, in the mess hall. And then here's an example of an exact time of what last year's schedule looked like. There could be some changes here or there, just depending on what the day will look like this summer. It might depend on different COVID things. But you can see in this schedule that there's time to sanitize, walk to activities. And then you can see there's at least 4 activities a day. And time to make sure the kids are getting a shower after their day, after being on the beach and doing arts and crafts and climbing the wall and all that good stuff. And after dinner, there's flagpole, which is where the whole camp gathers as a whole. And that's where also some camp-wide announcements happen, where different full camp programs happen, like Havdalah on Saturdays, different things. Yeah, lots of different things happen at Flagpole. There's some dad jokes told at Flagpole. And that's Simon's specialty, if you didn't know. And yeah,
I mean, to that point, I should say that I did just finish reading a book on the usefulness of glue. I can't put it down.
There you go. Dad jokes.
I'll be here all night.
So yeah, here's an example of what hour by hour, basically what a day in the life looks like. Lots of fun.
Okay, thanks, Pizza. So again, keep putting your questions in the chat. That's probably the best way to interact rather than having to keep starting and stopping with questions that people have. But Adam, did you want to take a couple minutes just talk about some of the atypical parts of camp that are not the typical day?
I would be happy to. If there's any connection issues with me, just let me know, because I'm getting a message, one of those Zoom messages that I'm having connectivity issues, although I seem to be fine. So just let me know if there's any tech issues on your end. Yeah, so we wanted to just highlight a few kind of key events that go on during the week that kids are really excited about, that are outside of the norm of a typical day at camp. So some might be self-explanatory, some of the things you see here. Others are unique to Camp Northland and really what makes it special. So Free Fridays, which I'll briefly explain, is it's kind of our way that we kind of slowly slow down a little bit and get ready for Shabbat. Whereas Friday afternoon, every specialty at camp opens up, and campers are free and in an age-appropriate way. But they're free to travel to any activity that they want at camp. Okay, and when I say an age-appropriate way, because the way we structure it differs based on the age group at camp, right? So some of our younger campers will maybe split their cabin up, and some kids go with one counselor, some with the other. Others, they might go with a cabin and both, and they can go for as little or as long as they want to different activities. So if they love tennis, they want to go play tennis for a little bit, they can go do that, right? If they want to get out to water skiing for a little bit or canoeing, they could do that. And they have all afternoon to go to all different activities and get a true taste of activities that maybe they want to do a little bit more of from what they just did throughout that week. Okay, so that's Free Fridays. It's always a highlight. It looked admittedly a little different last year with some of our protocols in place, but honestly, we're still able to do it in just maybe a little bit of a different way, and it's always a highlight. And that allows us to kind of roll into Shabbat, which is an amazingly beautiful and meaningful part of the camp week. Community and family are really important values to us as a camp, and that shines through in a lot of different aspects of camp. And I got to be honest, Shabbat is really where it comes to the forefront. So Shabbat usually starts off with what we refer to. Well, first of all, before we even get to some of our programming for Shabbat, we have family pictures by the beach, which is a huge tradition at camp, where all the siblings and cousins and even family friends, because they're neighbors, get together for pictures, beautiful pictures in front of our beach. They'll get posted, and of course, parents love to see it because it's an awesome opportunity for the families who are often spread around different parts of camp, but then to take some really cute pictures together at camp. And then our Shabbat programming begins with Oneg Shabbat, which is often, it could be a skit or a song or a program put together by different cabins or units or sections around camp that they plan during the week, and then they put on for the rest of the camp as part of Shabbat. An amazing traditional Shabbat dinner that's always a highlight and it's one of my favorites. It's an awesome meal. And typically the evening program really depends on what's being planned, but often, they might be about, our connection to Israel and maybe some really cool programs that our staff from Israel or even, our local staff put on for our campers. So that's Friday. And then all days, which are typically on Saturdays, it could be an all day, a half day. It's an awesome theme day for the entire age group. So it could be like everything from a camp-wide scavenger hunt or a Harry Potter day, or the whole unit or section transforms into an awesome theme, where they all dress up in a, last year there was a big mystery for our unit and section 3 where they had to figure out who someone went missing. I don't remember all the details now, but it was a day-long event that was awesome. And that leads into Saturday night, our Havdalah experience, which is another beautiful community experience where the whole camp comes together. Havdalah signifies the end of a week and the start of a new one. And it's a really amazing experience where we sing the traditional Havdalah prayers, and it then turns into kind of almost like a rock session where our staff, whether they're part of our Judaic and Israeli connection team or they're just staff that play guitar, typically get up there and are leading our camp in song and dance, and it's a really amazing experience that often then leads into our camp socials, which is an amazing fun dance and social experience that last year we transformed one of our outdoor venues, like our hockey rink, into this awesome space for our socials where everyone comes dressed up. But I don't mean dressed up for a dance in the traditional way you might be thinking, dressed up in a way where they're dressed maybe in like, one piece onesies, or the whole cabin decides to wear, basketball jerseys, or, Toronto sports team apparel, or a whole cabin decides to just wear sweatpants because that's what they want to wear that night. So it's really fun, and everyone just kind of has fun with it, and we have a great time on those nights. So that's just a few highlights, and within a given week of just some camp traditions that go on.
Awesome.
Back to you, Simon.
Yeah, before I move us forward, I'm just curious if there's any other staff or head staff that are on the Zoom that think we might have missed something around either fun, unusual programs or a typical day. You can just jump in if you want.
And don't be shy, guys. You can unmute and jump in.
Or you could add it in the chat even if you like. All right, looks like.
Or the chat.
Okay, so let's keep going. So the next slide was around how parents can help. I'm not going to spend, do you want to just advance this slide? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to get into quite a bit of support and I guess tips and tricks from the wellness team. But I think the seed I want to plant right now is to think about all the things that we're going to tell you around tools, tips, and tricks to be successful at camp, and then don't wait for your child to experience it for the first time at camp. There's lots that you can do now to prepare them. So things like, sleepovers and time away from technology and independent showering and hygiene and all that. But our wellness team will get into some of that a little later. Just remember, this is not about what to expect at camp, but it's equally what you can do now to prepare them to be successful at camp. Okay, so that's everybody's job. All right. Some of you asked questions in the chat already about communication to and from camp. So really it's about letters primarily. One of the most fun things at camp is to get, what's affectionately known as snail mail, right? So a real handwritten letter that the child can receive, because we do mail every day, and it's super exciting when the children get mail, when it's mail day. So sending letters is really key. One tip to remember is that mail takes time, and this camp is in Haliburton in a remote setting. So if you send all of your letters after the children leave for camp, many of those letters might not arrive while the child is at camp. So it's a good idea to start that process early. Even fun stuff like having the children write letters to themselves. I'm at home right now with mom, or I'm sitting with dad, and we're having such a fun time talking about all the things I'm going to do at camp. So this is me writing to me. Make sure you're smiling and having fun when you go to camp. Have fun with it, play with it, but know that the letters can take time to get up to camp. We do allow 2 emails per week for each camper to come inbound. So that is tracked very carefully, and we don't print or share a 3rd email in that week. So it's very important that you strategize with anyone else who might want to be in touch with the child, because if Bubby writes 5 emails on day 1, those first 2 emails are what the child's going to get and nothing else that week. So it's really important to be organized and plan your emails. So 2 per week will get printed and delivered, but as many letters as you want. So everyone can write letters every day and just keep them coming. There are no phone calls. Obviously, if there was, we'll talk more about medical later, but if there was a real issue to communicate home, we do have the capacity to make phone calls, but it's not part of our regular communication. Either way. We don't accept packages. So packages will just basically, we consider them donations. So they will arrive and they won't go to the child and you won't get them back. So please don't send packages. You will get updates. So a section or unit head will call or email you or both within the first few days to give you an update on how your first-time camper is doing and how they're adjusting. So you won't be sort of left in the dark wondering. You will get that information. And, camp is really a place, not to play on the cliche, but like no news is good news. You'll get a routine call. That doesn't mean there's a problem. But generally speaking, if you're not hearing from us, it's because adjustment is going well and things are great and you have very little or nothing to worry about. And that's usually the case. We do have communication where you can reach out or ask questions to the supervising staff, the unit or section heads. And we do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. But the internet can be spotty up there. So we never know, like it could be amazing one day and terrible the next day. So the communication may not be consistent. That's not necessarily because of something the staff are doing. It may literally be that they're just not getting the emails. So be patient. And remember, if there's an issue, we will be in touch always. All right, we can move along. So Adam and Denise, I think you guys are going to cover this, right?
Yeah. So Denise, jump in at any time, of course. But we wanted to talk to everyone a little bit about understanding Camp in Touch. So first of all, if you have not been to Camp in Touch, you've not heard it referred to as such. Camp in Touch is kind of your account. So when you hear us refer to Camp in Touch, that is your camp account with us. It is the home to everything from important forms that you have already and will continue to fill out for us. It even, by the way, has your financial statement, invoices, all that can actually be found there. It's also a place where if you need to update certain information, if you move or something like that, all of that is there. So it's referred to as your Camp in Touch account, and it's the account you created when you registered for camp. Okay, so if you haven't been back since registering, it's what you created when you registered for camp. If you have any issues logging in, so either you forgot your password, or it's giving you an incorrect, you can't get in for whatever reason, you're locked out, just email us. There's two things you can do. One is, I think there's a link you could click that would prompt maybe like a reset my email, but in case there's not, just email us at happycamper@campnbb.com. Just Danielle, if you want to throw that in the chat, if it hasn't been put there already. happycamper@campnbb.com. That is and I have a note about that email address in a second as well. That's our general email inbox that is managed by Denise. Please just email that account, let us know I'm locked out, and we'll happy to get you in. Okay, but I want to go through a couple of things you need to know about Camp in Touch. The other thing I just wanted to mention about Happy Camper, for whatever reason, and we'll continue to investigate, we've had some challenges this year with our general email in regards to going to families and staff members' spam folders. So please add the email address happycamper@campnbb.com to either your email contact list, or emails have like safe sender lists, or they programs call it different things, to ensure that you can get our general emails. Because for whatever reason, spam, whether it be spam filters are just stronger now, but emails that have gone through in the past are not, for some reason. Not to everyone, but some families are having a challenge with that. And we're going to continue to post also on social media when we post, when we send out important emails. So if you're not following us right now, you can follow us at Camp NBB. That's our name. You can find us on both Facebook and Instagram. If you just search Camp NBB, you'll find us in both of those places. Okay. All right. So I just want to talk a little bit about Camp in Touch. And so when you registered, that, like I mentioned already, that's the account that you created, and just call us or email. At this point, email us might be best, just because we're still working remotely primarily. We're in and out of the office. Most reliably, if you email us, that would be great. This is what the login screen would look like. The image might be a little different at this point, but this is what the login screen looks like. So there's all sorts of forms on there. Everything from your health form, which will be sent out to everyone very soon with the 2022 health history form to be updated. And then some other forms that some are released right away, some in the weeks to come. So things like updating on your child's swim level, or immunization updates, and all sorts of other forms that come out. There likely will be some COVID-related forms and updates that just come out a little bit closer. Just number one, because protocols are being updated as we get closer. Number two, just some only make sense to release as we get a little bit closer to camp. Okay, but we're always going to be communicating with you about that. The other thing is throughout the summer, you're going to want to be accessing Camp in Touch a lot as well. If you have not heard about our world famous blog, Simon, who has become an expert blogger, blogs about our camp day every day, and it really is. It's such an amazing peek into a day of the life at camp. And if you have not read it, and by the way, the best place to access it for sure is if you log into your Camp in Touch. But just so you know, we also now post it daily, or we do our best to post it daily. So you'll find it everywhere. We try and get it out there. But it's not just a superficial kind of like, hey, we had fun at camp today. The weather was nice. See you tomorrow. It really is a great insight into really specific things going on around camp. But, if little Johnny got up on 2 skis that day and Simon was able to be there or hear about it, he'll talk about it because it's an amazing accomplishment that we want to share with our families. So it really is a great blog that really gives you a great insight. It really is a highlight for a lot of our families throughout the summer. And every day that blog post goes up. There's also a photo gallery, day-to-day photo gallery throughout the summer. Our one disclaimer about that is that, I want to explain our purpose of the photo gallery to give you a nice snapshot into a day at camp or into a day or week at camp. It is not meant to have every single camper, showing up in the photo gallery. It's really meant to show you the amazing stuff going on at camp. A group of kids who did a really cool art project at Arts and Crafts one day. Or a camper who was really scared of heights got up to the top of the climbing wall. Those kind of pictures show up, and a lot of just amazing things going on day to day at camp. And there's also, and we'll communicate this a little bit closer, but there's the ability for some guest accounts. So if they want to kind of check those photo gallery on their own, some aunts, uncles, grandparents, they're able to do that as well. This is just so when you get to your Camp in Touch, this is just a visual of kind of what it looks like and what you could expect when you see there. You'll see here at the top forms and documents. That's where you'll find a lot of forms. And you can really play around with this and kind of navigate it and just, learn about different aspects of that Camp in Touch community that's there. Okay. When you go into your forms and documents, this is just kind of what it would look like. If it's green, awesome. Good job. It means you filled it out already and submitted. You may forget, because some people do. But if it's green, it's submitted. If it's gray, like this, or even like these kind that are gray, that means it's still pending but not due yet. If it's red, it means it's still pending and due. But it would tell you all of that. So everything is there. All the info is there. So if you forget things I'm saying now, just go into it. It's really user-friendly, but we're always around to help out with any questions. Okay, so I will pass it back to Simon.
This slide was thrown in as a reminder that at the end, we're going to be going through any unanswered questions and making sure you know what to expect and answering your questions. So it's a prompt to not be shy and throw your questions in the chat. If they're not being answered immediately, I know Daniela's feverishly working to get to as many as she can. We're going to answer everything at the end as part of our wrap up. So that's what we're working towards. If we don't answer in real time, we'll get there. So throw it in the chat. I want to just now turn our attention to like how proud we are of our incredible staff. Even if you just look around the screen, and even though not everyone's going to have the chance to speak formally as part of the presentation, our staff are really the best of the best. They're here by choice. Nobody's been forced to be here. The staff that are here chose to join this Zoom because they wanted to be a part of this experience and celebrate the start of this journey. All of us that are camp people understand that first year and how formative it is and all those different emotions. For any of the young campers out there that might be watching, I started at Camp Northland when I was 6 years old. I came to this camp. I remember all of those emotions still. And now, I've been here a long, long time. I'm the most privileged and lucky person in the world that I get to continue coming back to the second home that I grew up in. And one of the most exciting things for me is that you're about to start this journey. And that is amazing. Like, you're about to go on the greatest experience of your lives, and it's something that can return to you year over year over year. So be super excited, feel good, and know that even if you're young and nervous and scared, um, one day hopefully you'll have the opportunity to look back just like I do and say, "Wow, that was just incredible." And you're just about to start that, so be excited, get excited. We're happy to be here with you. Um, our staff are the same. Our staff, again, look around, change your screens, and I do invite our staff that are here, really just, you're welcome to unmute at any point if you think that there's an important point that we're leaving out or haven't discussed. Absolutely join the conversation. But I think it's important that the parents and the campers that are here know how incredible this group is. We are so fortunate. I really think that we have the staff that are setting the bar in the camping industry: responsible, mature, thoughtful, constantly participating in training, bettering themselves, choosing to learn at every opportunity, and always coming back to give back to camp. So many of them, when I talk to them at the interview stage, and I say, like, what's motivating you to come back? Is the concept of, I feel that I grew and was nourished so much from camp that I need to come back and now, do the watering. I need to provide that for others. So they're all coming back with these incredible motivations, and really the best, for the best reasons. So it's very exciting, and we're very grateful to have the staff that we do. So I'm gonna shift gears for a second. Maybe on that point, I will just also mention, you can leave the slide up here, Adam, but I will just mention on the staff point that, we have a goal to exceed expectations, right? So it's never our plan to meet expectations. It's always about, how do we make sure that we are top of game, that we're setting the bar, that we are basically the paradigm out there. And that's everything from training to, the ongoing professional development that happens, the treating our staff like youth professionals. There's something elevated about that, and that's what they are. They're youth professionals. And also the kinds of certifications that we require. So you're going to get the best of the best across the board at Northland. Similarly, we have an incredible health team, healthcare team at the camp. We have, actually, we're fortunate. I won't put anyone on the spot, but I know we have at least one of our returning doctors on the call in capacity as a parent, and that's exciting. I won't call you out, but hello, nice to see you here. But our health center is an incredible place for caring for campers and staff alike. We staff that health center with doctors that come year over year, really, fighting for a spot to get back, to give back. We have combinations of registered nurses and RPNs that come, first responders on site, and any combination of these professionals at any given time, in addition to all of our staff having first aid and CPR training as well. So the clinic runs like a rapid care clinic. We're sort of a small village, and the clinic is capable of dealing with most things. And in the very rare and unlikely event of an emergency of some kind, there's a hospital that's only 15 minutes away in a normal drive, and accessible with 911 and very fast ambulance response times. So we're remote, but we're still accessible for these types of situations that are very rare but can occur. The children have the opportunity, if they're unwell, to go to the clinic like they would at a rapid care clinic in the city, and there's a triage and a process and an opportunity to see the doctor when it's appropriate. The health center is sort of appropriately stocked for, basic medications, and we have a pharmacy in town where we can get prescriptions on a daily basis if necessary. So we still have access to all of those critical pieces. We do want to make one thing clear, which is that there's no reason to send over-the-counter medication for your child. If you do, it will not be dedicated for them. It will just go into the general pool of over-the-counter medications, almost like a donation to the health center. And what they use, and what they don't will not be returned. So, I mean, I guess you're welcome to send it, but you need to understand it wouldn't be sent for your child. We have everything we need on the over-the-counter side, and prescriptions will be filled accordingly if those situations arise. All right, we can move on in the slides. If, you know, day-to-day injuries, things that happen around camp, cuts, scrapes, bruises, those will be tended to by the, nurse or first aider, staff member, as the case may be. Sometimes assessed by a doctor, sometimes not. Most often than not, because most things are pretty minor. That's not going to be communicated home. If something significant or serious occurs, then yes, of course, that'll be communicated home. If there were a prescription of some kind, obviously that means there's an infection resulting in an assessment and a prescription. Those are the types of things we would call, a serious injury of some kind, something requiring crutches or a head injury, those types of things. Again, unusual, rare, but if it were to happen, those are the types of things that we would call home. Otherwise, they're just cared for on a day-to-day basis, by the first aiders or healthcare team. The general theme, again, is sort of like a no news is good news. Yeah, we can keep advancing in the slides. There will be a call if it's necessary. Okay. Sorry, Adam, if you just jump back to the daily medication, yeah. There may be children who take a prescribed daily medication. If that's the case, then there's a process that we'll communicate to you in the coming weeks. We will let you know exactly what that looks like, how to package the medication, if we have to direct you to certain pharmacy groups or teams and the way we want the medication package, we'll communicate that to you with enough time to do so. And then basically the medication gets properly labeled with instructions, and there's a process to bring it up to camp. And then that medication will be administered through the health center. So nobody is able to keep medication with them at camp. So all of the campers' medication has to be under the care and control of our health center. All right. So now we can move forward. So how do you help when it comes to the medical space? The most important thing you can do is make sure that all the forms, especially, in this case, the health form or the medical form, as it's often referred to, is completed in full. And, the medical form goes beyond just medical. It is a full assessment of the child. So it includes medical, but it's also emotional, behavioral, psychological, social, really anything that we need to know that will better equip us in all areas, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, behavioral, all of it, to help make your child as successful as possible at camp. So the more information you give us, full disclosure, is how we can be helpful. So that's really, really important.
Can I just add something there?
Yeah.
As someone who's been in the position where the medical forms have not been filled out to the best of the ability, I just want to stress that it is very important that you give us as much information as you can about your child, because if there's an issue going on that we could have known beforehand and we don't, and they're having a difficult time and we're not really sure why, it could really derail their maybe 1 week or 2 weeks at camp, and we want to make sure that they're having the best time. So as someone in that position that has happened before where we don't know something, please just let us know beforehand so that we can make sure they're very successful. And if there's anything we need to communicate to you, we do that as soon as possible.
Thanks, Pitaz. Okay, so one more slide before we turn it over to our camper and staff wellness team after this one, which is just a quick note on lice at camp. So obviously we want to do everything possible to prevent lice from entering camp. It's a very connected environment. People are sleeping together in cabins with shared spaces. Beds are close to each other. There's a lot of, hugging and, it's just a close environment. So it can be very easy for lice to spread. So the best way to make sure we don't have lice spread in camp is to make sure lice does not enter camp. And that is a collective responsibility. So that means that leading up to camp, we're going to ask all of you to learn, whether it's Google or any other resource on the internet, or some of the handouts and communications that we have on how to check for lice. And to do so, there are also lots of great services out there where you can pay a small fee and have a professional lice checker check or treat your child for lice. But this is an expectation. It's a collective responsibility. If a child does come to camp with lice, and we will know because we check for lice in everybody on day one. If a child comes with lice, they will be removed from the program. They will be treated for lice, and there is a fee that is charged back to the family per child for the treatments that are necessary. So it's easily avoidable with a check at home and a treatment in the city, and then we don't have any of the lice issues at camp. So please be aware of that and participate. Make sure we get that support. All right. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Daniela, and Daniela can take it from here and introduce your team. And this is really the meat and potatoes of tonight because these are the tools for all of the children to be successful in camp. So over to Daniela.
Thanks, Simon. Hi, everybody. As I said before, for any of you who've joined later, my name's Daniela Aptowitzer. I am so happy to be a part of the Camp Northland family, which I've been a part of for around 8 years. I'm a parent of 3 exuberant, lovely boys who enjoy camp. And my role at the camp is Director of Camper and Staff Wellness. During the year, my profession is a social worker, so I take those skills up to camp. And my role is, and the role of our entire team, which I will introduce you to shortly, is to help our staff know how to support our campers and help our campers with any struggles that they're facing. Adam, next slide, please. So we are so lucky to have a growing team at our camp. So actually, and we're also lucky that everybody's on the call tonight. So we have going across the board, the first one is me, obviously. Then we have Laura Title. Laura, can you say hi? She's on there. I know, it's always hard to remember to unmute. Laura will be joining us for her second, this will be her second summer at camp. She had a short stint last year, but she was so amazing as part of the team that we're so excited that she's going to be joining us for close to 5 weeks this year, part of our pre-camp training team as well. And Laura is also a social worker with a specialty in working with children with anxiety and mental health issues. So we're so lucky to have Laura. Then we have Maddie Johnson. Maddie, can you say hi?
Hi, I just wanted to say a quick hello and let you guys know that I'm beyond excited for this summer. It really has been my ultimate goal ever since I came to Northland to be where I am today. So I'm really thrilled, and I want to ensure that your children, whether they're coming to camp or you have a kid coming as a staff member, that everyone is in good hands. And I want to do everything in my power to make sure that they have a great summer.
Maddie, how long have you been at camp?
I've been at camp since 2016.
So Maddie is joining us as kind of a staff liaison with a specialty interest in wellness. So we included this role last year, and it proved to be amazing because the campers really know staff that have been around for a while, which Maddie has been, and she has a strong specialty in wellness and emotional wellness and supporting campers. I'm going to jump back to Laura because I didn't give her a chance to share enough about herself. Go ahead, Laura.
Sorry, I just wanted to properly introduce myself, but Daniela, you did a wonderful job of, thank you so much. So I'm so excited to meet everybody. My name's Laura, and just personally, I'm a former Northland alumni myself, so it's an honor and a thrill to be coming back to Northland this summer. As Daniela said, last summer I came for pre-camp to do specialized training with the staff and supporting the staff with their own mental health needs, but specifically to give them the tools to support their campers. Coming out of COVID and lockdowns, it was presenting with unique challenges. So I'm so excited to come back. I'm coming back with my 2 little ones, and I'm just so happy to be able to give them that experience, because I think, one of the best gifts you can give your children as a parent is to immerse them in nature and give them opportunities to get outside their comfort zone with support. That's kind of some of the really basic kind of mental health building blocks. So professionally, I'm a clinical social worker. I've been specializing in the child and adolescent mental health field for over 10 years. I've worked in many different environments: residential treatment, day treatment, outpatient clinic at a hospital for 3 years. And now I work at a pediatric family health team in Markham doing mental health counseling for children and adolescents and their families. So I'm so excited to join the wellness team and to provide support for the staff and for all the campers. And I'm so excited to get to know you and just be here for, whatever your needs are. So thank you for having me, and I'm so excited to see you this summer.
Thanks, Laura. Stacia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Stacia Wall. I have a little bit of laryngitis today, so I won't talk too long, but I am so honored to be part of the camper and staff wellness team. I also have the same last name as Simon, so I happen to be his wife. And this is our first summer where we actually don't have any campers at camp. All 3 of our boys are actually going to be staff, so it's going to be a very different kind of experience for our family. But I really love being part of this team. I love watching your children grow over their summers at Camp Northland. A big part of my role is supporting staff wellness. But I am one of the camp mummies, and I take that job very seriously. I always have my eyes and my ears open and watching the kids to make sure that they're in good spirits and they're taking care of themselves, certainly physically. I walk around with a can of sunscreen and a can of bug spray. I get laughed at a lot, but I happen to use those quite a bit. I just want to make sure that everybody's taking care of themselves. And I think that we do an excellent job in ensuring that our staff and our campers know that they're genuinely cared for. They genuinely, from our heart, cared for. We want to make sure that they have an incredible experience. Outside of the summer, I actually am a guidance counselor. I've been a guidance counselor at a private secondary high school for 16 years. I'm also a mental health educator and an educational consultant. So kids are my life. And I just feel so blessed that I get to continue caring for kids throughout the summer. And we really look forward to welcoming your children into the Camp Northland family. It's an incredible place to be. And they will come soon enough. We're so excited. So thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks, Stacia. We're very lucky with our team. We really are. Adam, do you mind going to the next slide? So part of the goal for this evening for the meat and potatoes part, being the wellness focus, is to help you guys as parents and the campers on the call understand and be prepared in the best way you can possibly be to have a great experience at camp. So we know, especially with increased anxiety due to COVID, that campers might need a little bit more support. And that means that parents might need to provide a little bit more structure in that area prior to camp. So here are some tips and tricks of things that you can do to help your children be ready. If you are somebody who went to camp when you were younger, share your positive stories from camp. You know, we all know that there can be ups and downs, and we also know that the camp world is very, very different now than it was when most of us were younger. So, you know, sharing the things that you loved about camp, how it helped you grow, how it helped you become more independent, how it helped you make friends for life. Those are the experiences we really want our campers to have front of mind when they're going into camp. In terms of talking to them about how much you're going to miss them, I like to offer a reframing that you're talking to them about how excited you are for them. Because often we can see campers who are worried about their parents who they left behind at home, that they're worried about how much they're going to miss them. So that's an easy one to address before camp starts. Just being mindful of your language, that it's an experience for your children, even though it's so much of an experience for yourselves of sending your kids your most precious possessions away from your care to us, but we will take we do a very good job of taking care of them. I would also encourage you to have your children be a part of the camp prep and exploring the camp world together. So that we have our a parent connection group that I mentioned in the chat on Facebook, which is a great opportunity to connect with other camp families. But shopping and labeling and trying on the clothes and making sure you have slides and rain boots and rain jackets and everything, kids really feel a little bit more ownership over it if they're a part of it. Even those of you who have invited your kids to join tonight, that's a wonderful thing, because they can be so excited, and the more that they're involved, the more comfortable they'll be when heading up to camp. Like Simon mentioned, sending letters is a wonderful thing. There's nothing better than seeing a kid smile when they have a letter. They're walking out of the office with their letters. After lunch, all the campers run up to the office to see who can be there to get mail first, because it's so exciting. So keeping the letters upbeat and curious, more so about the kids' experiences, and updating about home, but keeping it upbeat and happy is usually helpful. Trust, I know trust is something that is not just given, it is earned, but I think we've earned trust in our families that we will do everything we can to care for your children just like they're our own. And like Stacia said, we have a few camp mummies and more adults roaming around camp with our eyes and ears open to make sure kids are doing well, and kids are taking care of themselves, and kids are asking for what they need, and that we are able to provide it for them. Here's one of the biggest things that people don't often think about, but for our younger campers, really teaching them how to take care of themselves is very important. Showering our campers with lots of hair and long hair, they might need some practice of how to wash their hair well and rinse out the conditioner and then wash their bodies. General hygiene, practicing how to make a bed, folding clothes, using a laundry hamper as opposed to a basketball toss onto the floor like my kids do, will all help in the end, because kids will have their stuff, it'll be cleaner, and there's a greater likelihood of it coming home as opposed to ending up into the lost and found, which is something we really try and avoid. So making sure you label everything. A towel that you don't care if it comes home, still label it, because it's going to come home, because otherwise we don't have a place to put it, and we're trying to keep things out of the landfill. So camp towels are great to come back to camp every year. It doesn't matter if they're not sparkling white anymore, that's camp. So keeping that in mind. And then one of the last things is, and for all my little camper friends who are on the call, sometimes people miss home, and that's okay. We can handle that. It's okay to miss home. It doesn't mean you're not okay to be at camp. That's kind of my catchphrase that I help the staff remember, because it's really important to acknowledge, of course you're going to miss home, because home is fantastic, but it doesn't mean you're not okay to be at camp. So keeping that in mind in your language when you're getting kids ready for camp, giving permission to have the feeling, but at the same time acknowledging that that's not the only feeling they have to sit in. It doesn't have to prevent them from enjoying and engaging in camp. Next slide, please. So those were the do's. These are the don'ts, much less, which is great. So don't tell them how much you'll miss them. Tell them how excited you are for them, because missing, that sense of missing can create some guilt or some worry for kids. So if we can avoid that, then that would be great. One other really, really important point is knowing that although camp is a magical place, it's still real life. So we know that kids, just like adults, can have ups and downs in their day, can be really tired and maybe grumpy one day and need some time to catch up, can be, didn't love the lunch meal so that they're kind of hungry, even though lots of food is available. And that might be the times when they choose to write letters. So of course, please follow up if you have any concerns, but understand that there are ups and downs at camp, just like there is everywhere else. You know your children best. So you know if they're prone to ups and downs as well. And please keep in mind not to make any promises that you can't keep. For example, we have parents who will tell their kids, well, you can call home if you're having a hard time. Actually, no, we work really hard to make sure that kids aren't calling home, because that makes things much harder. They can't call you and you can't call them. That's just the way it is. And making promises of who will be in their cabin, because it's not something that unfortunately as families there's control over, but we do our best to accommodate requests and match based on things that, that's why informing the forms, filling out the forms is really so important, because we look to get the best picture of your child so we can do what's best for them when they're at camp. So keeping in mind, if you're not sure about some of these things, feel free to email the camp, or wait till you get your first time call with your unit or section head, which will be coming in the coming months. Next slide, please, Adam. So some things to consider. I have firsthand experience of watching my children grow at camp, that it is a remarkable learning experience, and why you likely chose to send your kids to our camp. So it's a learning experience for them as kids, them as individuals, them as friends, them as members of our Jewish community, as well as for you as parents. I think it's important to always talk about concerns and listen to concerns. I don't think there's any expectation that a camper is going to come to camp without any worries. That's fair, and we can handle worries. So it's important to talk about them. And a lot of worries can be addressed before camp even begins by sharing them either through the health forum, or when you're speaking with the unit or section head, or if it's a more significant worry or struggles that you would like to talk about, sending it over to my team, which is Daniela@campnbb.com, and we will make sure that it's addressed. I've already started speaking with parents who have questions before camp, so it's not a problem. The earlier the better in many ways, because camp life gets really busy closer getting ready for camp. And the other thing is having realistic expectations. You know your children best, you know what is challenging for them, you know what is easier for them. So keeping that in mind, that although we do provide a magical summer, we don't perform magic. So we are here to help your kids reach their goals and be the best people they can be, while learning about themselves and having a wonderful life-altering experience. Next slide, please, Adam. There we go. So some things to consider. So we've kind of looked at what to do before camp, what to do while the kids are at camp, with upbeat letters and, following through on promises that you may or may not be making. But things to consider for when kids return to camp. So one of the things is, it's not a great time. Our experience shows us not a great time to make really big changes to children's lives. So it's not the time to decide to sell the house or, renovate and get rid of their room without their knowledge. Something just to keep in mind. Kids really look forward while they're away at camp, having all sorts of amazing experiences. Their expectation is when they come home, everything's the exact same. So they've changed a bunch, but home hasn't changed. And in them changing a bunch at camp potentially is the reminder that there can be a bumpy re-entry returning for camp, because there's lots of routines and things that we've worked really hard because they work at camp, like mealtime and shower time, that might be different than how your family works. So giving some leeway and lots of time for sleep and rest when kids return from home, but more than that, understanding that it might take some time to change some language and return back into home life. I will tell you from my own personal parenting tip, I think when kids come back from camp is a wonderful opportunity to try and adjust and give them more expectations and more responsibilities at home, because that's what they've had at camp. They don't have somebody cleaning up after them. They don't have somebody putting away their laundry. They don't have somebody cleaning their table for them. They are doing it themselves. So take this time to see this is what I do, see where you can push a little bit more in your parenting so that you can help encourage those changes that they've made in a positive way. And the last piece is, for those of, since this is a new camper discussion, is working on maintaining friendships throughout the year. A lot of campers have camp friends and year-round friends, and there's no reason why camp friends can't be always friends. And that just helps the camp experience as time moves on. Next slide, please, Adam. So one of the other things to consider is we're talking about what we can do for you, but there's also, what camp can do for you. So the amount of independence and maturity and confidence and friendship skills that happens at camp is remarkable. And we see it, like Stacia said, we love watching your kids grow at camp. That's what we see. And we see these kids year over year changing and growing and turning into these fine young Jewish community people, and we're so proud of it. So that's something that camp provides. We have a wonderful focus on Jewish values and understanding, working that in on a daily basis in an appropriate and exciting and entertaining way. One of the most amazing things is, I would say, the amount of self-sufficiency and responsibility and maturity that happens. I can say personally for my 3 boys, every year when they come home, I'm just shocked at how those skills transfer into being a more responsible student or being a more considerate sibling or showing some care and love for somebody else that maybe wasn't there before. And always that we will address your concerns in a proactive way. And, I love how Simon refers to our staff as youth professionals, because that's what we're grooming them to be and the training we provide, and we take it very seriously. It's not just camper, kids who still want to be at camp but are too old to be campers. It's people who are choosing to be there because they love this camp, they love what it's done for them, and they want to share it with other youth. And it's amazing. Adam, next slide, please. So now that's what camp can do for you, what you can do for camp. So tell us things. Tell us what your worries are or concerns are, or suggestions of things that help and will help your child be the best they can be. Please give us your trust and know that our number one goal is that everybody is safe and happy. That's what camp's about, and enjoying themselves. Follow the packing list. You don't need to send too much. Things get used, and kids, this is where some resiliency gets built for kids also, where they're not sure what to do because something is dirty. They figure it out. They borrow, they make friends, they wash it in the sink at camp. That's doable too. So it's really, it's an important one, because the more you pack, it doesn't equal more space in their cabin. So stick with the packing list, and don't forget the fun costumes, because that's great, especially for our younger campers. And the last one is, we worked really hard to update our health form so that it will provide an opening for parents to share anything and everything for their child's well-being, not just physical health, but we're talking emotional, mental, physical, and social. So whatever you can put in there, we can address. We have, as you've met tonight, a team of professionals that have experience in lots of different mental health areas and strategies and ways to support our staff, so everybody can do their best. But if we don't have the information, we can't help. So it's not one of those situations where it's, don't worry about stigma. There's no stigma with us. We keep things confidential as they need to be and on a need to know basis, and we will communicate with you. So, but that has to start with you guys. So please trust us in that area, that it is the most helpful thing you can do, including IEPs, including any LGBTQ plus issues or questions you might have. Throw it all in there. There's a space for it all. And if there isn't a space, just let us know. Next slide, please. I think that might be it. That's it for me. So I'm going to sign off. My email is in the chat a few times. So if there's any questions, please be in touch, and I will organize information if it's something for the unit or section head, or if it's something for the wellness team. And you will hear from all of us in time before camp. Just trust us with that. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry I spoke so much.
Daniela, I forgot to mention our honorary member of our wellness team.
Yeah, very important. He was in the picture.
He was in the picture. Splash is one of the camp
Is
dogs.
he there with you?
He's in the picture.
Yeah.
Originally.
We have 2 camp dogs.
We do.
This year. We're
we have
down
2
one.
camp dogs. And I know sometimes it's hard when kids have to say goodbye to their pets to go to camp. So I want you to know that Splash is, I think, an honorary member of our wellness team. He and or Simon walks him around camp. He's often on leash. He's always on leash, walking around camp, always happy to be snuggled, and give love to campers. If your camper is not comfortable with dogs, no problem. That's okay. We will keep him at a distance, but Splash is an amazing snuggler, and all the kids and he's very calm, and the kids just, get to get a little bit of puppy love when they're up at camp as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't forget Splash.
Thanks,
And
guys.
Adam's dog too.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I had my dog at camp too, and he's a little wacky. Like, Splash is definitely Oscar. My dog Oscar.
The preferred dog for sure.
Oscar is not part of the wellness team, but he is an important part of camp for sure. But I do love him very much. But Splash is awesome. And but thank you, Daniela, and everyone. So and just one last point about the wellness team. They work very closely with our head staff and our the counselors as well. And it's an amazing symbiotic relationship, a lot of synergy, right? Any team that's coming up, they're involved in every single discussion about that or decisions. They're not just like kind of sitting off on the sidelines and call them in. They're very much involved and ingrained in every aspect of day-to-day life at camp, and it's an amazing resource that we're lucky to have. So, it's just another reason why your kids are in awesome hands this summer. So I want to just talk about a couple events that we're planning, that if you can mark in your calendar now. So one is on Sunday, May 29th, which I should mention is also the day of the UJA Walk with Israel. So near the end of that day, we are planning for a special event for all of our new campers. We don't know yet. It's really too early and too hard to say if that event will be in person or not. There's a good chance, it's not. It'll be virtual and it'll be awesome, whatever it is. But if you could save the date, and even if it's virtual, we're going to make an effort. One of our goals for that program is for campers to meet other campers, right? So whether that be in smaller breakout rooms where they have a chance to meet other kids their age that might be in their cabin or at least in their section or unit, that's our goal for that, okay? So even if it's virtual, I just want to mention that, okay? So that's Sunday, May 29th at 4 o'clock. And then Tuesday, June 7th, is a session for our camp parents, our camp families, specifically for them. It's not really geared for campers. And we like to call it pre-camp training. That happens for our staff a couple weeks after that, but pre-camp training for parents. And it's an awesome tool and session and workshop for all of you who are on this call today. And, really all of our camp families are invited. Daniela, did you want to just add a little
I do, yeah.
note about it? Go ahead.
So we started this last year kind of in a response to what I was seeing in my day job of really increased anxiety and worry, both for parents and children. And so as a way to try and provide as much support before camp starts, I'm putting together kind of an anxiety training workshop. So this can be beneficial, even if you, for anybody who might have some anxiety and you're looking for some free strategies that might be helpful, and understanding where it's coming from and how to provide some tools for your kids to be able to access and share the language of what we'll talk about at camp if we have to help support kids at that point. And so we can offer some continuity. So I think it'll just be a great evening if you're looking for some more information about understanding things that are appropriate for camp for parents to know before camp starts, but a greater focus on dealing with and understanding nervousness and anxiety and kind of stretching into the homesickness, so that we can help each other to help the campers.
Awesome, thank you.
I think that takes us into
into
our 15-minute window of Q&A. And I think what I'm going to do, because there are a lot of great questions in the chat that have already gone unanswered, I want to address those first. But you can keep adding questions because we'll follow up later by email or by posting on our website or whatever we need to make sure questions are answered. We also have a frequently asked questions sheet. Adam, I don't want you to keep them open, but if you just scroll down so people can see that we do have a series of pre-planned frequently asked questions that we'll post and circulate to answer a lot of questions that have even already come up in the chat. So we're sort of ready, with a lot of that, but I want to address a few now in the 15 minutes that we have. And I'm actually going to start from the bottom up because a lot of the earlier questions were addressed in responses. So, the first question, what if your child is used to sleeping with a nightlight? The answer is most of the time, really almost without exception, the staff will bring sort of holiday lights and add a little dimension and flavor and color and by default light to the cabin. So that's kind of built into the culture already. And I'm just gonna keep scrolling up. But if I missed any questions, I'm gonna ask the team here to let me know because sometimes it scrolls super fast. Okay, I see. I'm trying to only answer the ones that have been left unanswered. So that's going to be my mission here.
We did get to it between Daniela, who was also myself, Pitaz.
Yeah.
We did answer a lot. Yeah. What I was going to say is if anyone wants to maybe retype it, I don't know if that would help if in case one wasn't answered.
Yeah. So I do want to reemphasize one thing on the over-the-counter meds. So if you are using an over-the-counter med as a daily medication, in other words, for some reason you are using an over-the-counter medication on a regular basis, every morning my child must take, this medication, we treat that as sort of an exception to the rule. So that would be treated as if it were a prescription medication, and you would be expected to send that medication. What I'm talking about when I say don't send over-the-counter medications is, you think that over the course of the month your child's going to be up at camp, they're likely going to need at some point an allergy med, and at some point maybe a drink of Restorelax, and at some point you think about all the things that you do for your child at home, and some parents tend to try to send all of that up. What we're saying is you don't need to do that. We'll deal with those on a case-by-case basis, and we're well equipped in the health center. Okay. Yeah, so it's a good idea that Adam had. If we missed any of your questions and you still feel that it's unanswered, just retype it in the chat. That'll allow me to focus right in at the bottom of the chat and make sure we get to as many unanswered questions as possible. I see the question, can kids bring a stuffy to sleep with? The answer is yes, of course, and we love seeing the stuffies, and many, 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 many kids and staff bring their stuffies to camp. So stuffies are welcome. I would recommend if you sort of have like a backup stuffy or a friend of the main stuffy, that you send that to camp, just to prevent, loss or damage at camp of, a prize stuffy from the city. So if that's possible, that's always a good thing to do. But stuffies are welcome. They're a welcome part of our camp family. The setup of camp is basically that there are 10 villages, for lack of a better way to put it. So 2 villages of, every grouping of ages. So when we talk about section or unit 1, that basically is 2 villages, boys and a girls area, of grades 1 to 4 campers. When we talk about sections in unit 2, that's grade 5 and 6 campers in 2 separate villages. And that's probably everyone on this call, but it sort of goes up from there. And within each village, there's a very similar setup. So inside that age group's village, you have typically, between 4 to 8 camper cabins. And then you'll have a recreation hall, so like an indoor space for programming, rainy day activities, that kind of thing that's just dedicated for your village. You're also going to have an outdoor meeting area, a fire pit to hang out, some play space, to enjoy, and also a dedicated wash house just for that village. So that wash house will be just for the village, and the campers will go from their cabins to the wash house for showering or teeth brushing or whatever the case may be. Our youngest campers will be sort of taught that they should all be going to the bathroom immediately before bed. If someone does have to go at night, they would wake up a staff member, and our staff members are trained for that, to be there for the children. As the campers get older, it starts to become a little bit more sort of age appropriate. They may have a buddy system, or they'll have an alternating buddy system, and the older campers will just go to the washroom. So that's kind of the way that works. And there are also just public washrooms all over camp, whether it's the dining halls or by some of the recreation areas, there are bathrooms as The inside every wash house, there's basically 8 private toilets, 8 shower stalls with curtains, and 8 sinks. That's the setup there. Okay. Vaccination policies have been announced by social media, multiple emails, and that hopefully is clear to everyone at this point. Our policy is that all campers and staff must be vaccinated as defined by public health at the time camp begins. So that basically means as of today, everybody of any age, because it's eligible to be vaccinated. So anyone who goes to our camp would be eligible to be vaccinated, other than maybe some senior staff, some very young children. Has to have a minimum of 2 doses of the vaccine right now. So that's where that stands. So just reading questions here.
Simon, maybe there's been a few questions about MP3 and music and cameras.
Yeah, so we do not allow campers to have cameras or any device that has the potential or capacity to connect to the internet. So what that means is, even if you were to say, I've taken out the SIM card or there's no way they can connect to the internet, the actual device is not allowed in camp. So a very old school MP3 player that does not have the ability to connect to the internet and they're just using it for music, that would be okay. But otherwise, no. So we don't accept phones as cameras or phones as alarm clocks or any other excuse or reason. And we ask parents to really not enable that type of thinking as they come to camp. If they want a camera, just send even a disposable camera or a cheap camera, that takes traditional photos, and you'll have those memories when the child gets home. But phones or any device that connects to the internet, and really we define it as having a usable screen interface, really should not be brought up to camp. It'll just be confiscated and taken away, and depending on the circumstances, may or may not be returned. We do reserve the right to just make a donation to charity in some situations, so just don't send them to camp, and then there's no issue. In terms of the use of the technology, even the music players, we only allow that to be used inside the cabin. Generally speaking, it's really just to be used as a tool to assist, helping a camper fall asleep, or during rest hour when people are just sort of chilling and relaxing, that kind of thing. But we don't allow campers to, walk around camp with earphones in their ears. Camp is supposed to be a place of interaction, social engagement, connectivity. So we don't want to facilitate an environment where people are shutting everybody else out of their experience. So that's part of the theory behind it. Okay, just again, reading the questions here. Okay, some are being answered in real time. I see there's a question about extending. So in terms of extensions, we always try to facilitate extensions, but we can't guarantee them, which is why we always encourage people to sign up for the longest session, like the true session that you believe your child will attend and intend for them to stay for. And the reason for that is not that we don't want children to extend, of course we do, but sometimes the dynamics and timing is such that the cabin will collapse, because if everybody's going home on that week, but your child is the only one who wants to extend, there might not be a cabin to put them into. Because the rest of the cabin will collapse into itself. In other words, we'll close the cabin, the staff will be reallocated, and there's nowhere for that camper to go. So whenever we can, we will facilitate it, but we can't guarantee it. In terms of placement of 1 week versus 2 week campers, again, it's going to be different. It's going to just depend on what the spacing is like, what the number of registrants are in a particular age group or grade or gender, and how they get placed into a cabin. So, typically speaking, 1 weekers are usually with 1 weekers, but there's always the possibility of a blended cabin here or there, but not sort of based on request, based on need. Okay, if I missed anything, please throw it in the chat. I don't want you to leave tonight with unanswered questions. We still have 5 minutes left-ish. What are we? Well, actually, no, we're just at 9 o'clock now.
Yeah.
Apparently that clock over there is still slow. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions popping up right now, then I think the best thing to do might be just to say thank you, because I think people are going to start leaving shortly. I'm happy to stay on with zero pressure on anyone else on the team for 2 minutes if questions remain. But at this point, I will just say thank you to everybody that's joined us. Parents, campers, staff, so grateful
Nice.
for everybody to be here and join us and be a part of the experience, to welcome our newest campers to the camp family, and the parents, of course. So if anybody has their questions answered for now, know that we'll be in touch with you. Communication will be ongoing. Make sure you trust us in your email contacts so you don't get our emails thrown into your spam folders, but definitely keep checking your spam folders in the meantime. And have a wonderful night and a Chag Sameach, and stay healthy. Feel free to exit the Zoom if you're good, and if you'd like to stay on because you have an unanswered question, happy to be here. So thank you very much, everybody.